One set.
Camera rolling.
Sound.
The good.
The bad.
And the just plain standard. Take one.
Salut.
Hey.
All right.
Welcome back to The Good, The Bad, and the Just Plain Standard podcast, where we provide you with our informed opinions on movies we watched together. We are your hosts,
Adam.
Anouk.
And Yann. Today is all about The Disaster Artist.
Starring...
James Franco, Dave Franco, Seth Rogen, Zac Efron, Josh Hutcherson, Alison Brie, Zoe Deutsch, and Sharon Stone.
Oh yeah, Sharon Stone's in this.
Yes, she's Iris.
Yeah, she is.
I would like to start with a disclaimer. To agree to concede to his life rights, Tommy Wiseau had a line in his contract where he had to have a scene sharing the screen with James Franco. What he didn't read is that it was not mandatory for it to be used in the movie, in the final cut. It is used, but you'll have to wait until the very end because it's after the credits.
Cheeky.
Yeah.
That's a very studio move, that is.
Yeah, very studio move.
I've got a good studio story. I don't know if I've told this in the podcast. It's about the Happy Feet animation. I don't think I've said this on the podcast. So me and Anouk bumped into one of the animators for the original Happy Feet on a train going to London. Really odd to bump into somebody like that, but enjoyable. Guy had a good conversation with him. So there's a scene in Happy Feet 1 where the penguin, I don't remember his name, the character's name.
No idea.
Like Mungo or something.
Oh yeah, Mungo.
It's like Mungo or something like that. Anyway, he's like in a zoo and you see like human-esque figures and shadows, which are actually real people. So that's all the animators for Happy Feet they got to film for a day. And they all got contracts written up. They were all paid £1 or $1 for their work. However, in the small print of the contract was, if you have a cup of tea or coffee, you forfeit the $1.
What?
Yeah, that was in their contract for being extras.
During the filming, you mean?
Yeah, their contract was, you get paid, for this scene you get paid $1, because they're animators, they're not doing it for the money. They need to, don't be easier, we'll do it, it's cool. Mumble. Oh, of course, because you can't sing.
But...
That's good. Yeah, so they either got $1 or a cup of coffee, but no, everyone had a cup of coffee because they thought it was free. So there you go. There's what studios can do.
Horrible.
Yeah, not great.
So apparently, the book, because it was originally a book by Greg Sestero's, The Disaster Artist, My Life Inside the Room. And apparently, according to TW himself, it's only 40% true.
Which is bizarre because I've nearly finished that book as well, and I'm like, I can believe. I actually see why James Franco made this film based on that book as opposed to watching The Room and going, right, okay, let's make a film about that. Because the book is really interesting.
Well, James Franco went into the thing way afterwards. He actually read the book first.
That's actually quite good because I think reading the book you realise who this guy is and why he made this film. Like, he's actually that delusional. Like, it's crazy how he thinks that's how the world works.
It's referred to in the book as Tommy's planet. He has a different being, almost, and logic to everything that he does. It's insane.
And it's also like, I don't know if I should, if I want to shake hands with Greg Sestero or slap him in the face for what he's for going through with it for so long.
It's in the opening chapter of the book. They don't touch upon it in the movie why Greg does The Room, but it's in the very first chapter of the book, and it's stated that Greg's going to get a life-changing sum of money for being in the film, and Tommy will buy him a new car.
Yeah, it was not accepting, the beard thing that we have in the movie with Bryan Cranston. I didn't want to shave it because it was meaning not being able to do that scene in Malcolm in the Middle. In the book, he didn't want to to shave his beard because, well, he agreed to help his friend as a line producer, but, well, he didn't really want to act into the thingy. So when he learned quite late, it's not like that in the movie, but in the book it's like this. When he learns quite late that he will actually be Mark, he doesn't want to shave his beard at some point because that's his anonymity card. You'll have the IMDb credits, but still in terms of acting, you see the beard throughout the whole shoot. You won't necessarily recognize him. And so yeah, the whole Well, I think actually this movie and the book that was before is a interesting masterclass in dramatization.
Yeah.
Because you've got a book with, many chapters in various different orders, like neatly blending in together. And the two, I don't have the names with me, but the two screenwriters for the movie did a pretty good job in getting us a streamlined story.
Yes. The film is in chronological order, i.e. from meeting Tommy Wiseau to premiering the film.
Yeah.
As the book is, it starts with them about to start production, and each chapter jumps back to the beginning of meeting Tommy, then back to filming, then the story carries on. So it is chronological in the sense that when he starts talking about how he met Tommy, that follows a chronological sequence. However, the chapters don't follow a chronological order.
Yeah, and I think the film, The Disaster Artist, definitely makes Tommy Wiseau a lot more likable than the book.
Yes.
There are scenes where, he comes across as a bit of an,
Yeah, well, they're not talking about everything, but the scene which is regarded as being the more violent one with the Juliet with the Lisa scene, the sex scene.
Yeah, it's awful.
In the book, it didn't strike me as violent as it looks like in the James Franco movie.
I think that's just to give the sense of what the rest of the production's like, because in the film, Yannick's right, we don't see Tommy Wiseau as this like lost director who doesn't really know what's going on half the time. Where in the book, we get a grand scale of how clueless and lost Tommy really is. I think that's in the film to make, there's tension that because at that point in the film, Tommy is very much like a sympathetic, like, oh, we want him to do well. But then we see like, oh, don't be a dick. It's Yann's right. It's good dramatization.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's raising the stakes every time, and some added stuff, for sure.
It's, yeah. I think the film is a lot more like funny, I think. Obviously I laughed when I was reading the book, but I was actually a lot more nervous about Tommy Wiseau, and also like, what a arsehole.
To give the book credit, there is a lot of Tommy Wiseau of his like kind, caring nature in the book as well. For example, Greg shoots a movie in Romania, I think it is, or somewhere in Eastern Europe. And he's away for Christmas, and
puppet master thingy.
Yeah, and he's in his room all alone on Christmas Day, and he gets a telegram saying like "Merry Christmas, TW," and he's like, "How did Tommy track me down?"
Yeah, yes.
But he sends me a telegram saying "Merry Christmas."
Yes. Well, Tommy Wiseau is like I've identified a few persona types. I would say he's a bit of Charles Dickens, Mr. Ripley, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Willy Wonka.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Are we talking Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka, or Johnny Depp, Willy Wonka?
Both.
I think Johnny Depp, or Willy Wonka, like that strange oddness to him.
Yeah, he kind of looks a bit manic.
Almost,
at times.
Yeah, Michael Jackson-esque, like childlike.
Yeah, because he lives in his own world.
Yeah, his planet. Yeah,
his Tommy's planet. He's even got the pen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's one thing that did shock me, that Tommy Wiseau is it Wiseau?
Wiseau.
Well, it depends on the pronunciation
tomato.
Because it depends on the pronunciation because the thing is, so it's left out also in the movie. At the very end, you get we still don't know to this day how old he is, where he's got his money from, and where he was born. Right? In the book, you get loads of hints. Well, it's just like the Doctor. People lie, but we get a birth date in there, which is apparently completely wrong, but it gives an idea of how he feels about himself. In one of the Jimmy Kimmel, he said, where he was from. Actually, I heard Rio, but that's not what he said.
He says somewhere Eastern Europe. He doesn't give a specific country.
I think he gave a. Okay. Anyway, yeah,
maybe.
And the thing is, when those moments when Greg relates through storytelling how Tommy Wiseau told him about his own life. We've got those story parts, and he started as like young T, who when he went to France, as Adam said, changed to Pierre, and then it became Thomas when he arrived in the US. And Wiseau is like the French word oiseau for bird,
yeah.
But he substituted the first letter. Instead of an O, it's a W. So phonetically, I would say Wiseau is probably closer to Wiseau than Wiseau. So
okay.
Wiseau. Yeah.
That's a nice return to bilingual corner there. We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. Well, Greg always refers to him as Tommy Wiseau in there. So it's different in the actual film. And I think in all interviews, it's always Wiseau.
Yeah. I've forgotten what I was saying.
Shall we do a quick plot summary just for people that don't know? Because I do know that there are people that won't know what this is all about.
Yeah.
So The Disaster Artist, like we've just briefly talked about, is based on the book written by Greg Sestero, and there is another author on that as well. It's Greg and somebody else, which we should...
Tom Bissell.
Tom Bissell, there you go. Write this book, which is essentially an recounting of how Greg met this strange man at an acting class in San Francisco, to them moving to LA together, like a buddy movie. Like, yeah, let's move to LA together. We're going to make it. And then as standard goes, in every movie or every book, one person of the duo makes progress, the other one doesn't, the other one gets jealous. But in this case, Tommy being the other decides, screw it, I'm going to make my own movie. And thus The Room is born. Now, if you don't know The Room, I can't explain The Room to you in this podcast. It deserves its own episode because it is by far one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life.
It's an experience.
It's truly a masterclass in self-publishing and producing.
Oh yes, he has nothing to envy to the Israeli magician Uri Geller.
Oh.
Yeah, listening to the audiobook coming, I said, in terms of marketing, he's a bit like this guy who's been pretending to bend spoons for 40 years. So yeah.
Fun note, I tried to get my mum to watch The Room the other week. She made it as far as...
Not even a quarter of the first section.
No, she made it after that. She made it to about the mother coming in. Just after the mum left, she went, Adam, this is shocking. Turn it off.
I tried to have my brother watch that. He just didn't take on.
Yeah, I think you have to discover it on your own. Although in saying that, we showed it to two of our friends earlier this year and they got into it.
I think you have to know about filmmaking and storytelling, and I mean, because we showed that to actors, so they would understand it, rather than watching it for entertainment's sake when you're probably not going to get that far into it.
This is actually a very good segue, Anouk. Guys, when did you first hear of The Room?
I was asking myself that on the way coming here, actually. I really don't know. I don't remember those, 9/11. I have no idea what I was doing at that moment. Yeah.
Oh God, I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I remember what I was doing at 9/11.
Is it podcast appropriate?
What? Yeah.
Am I?
I was really young, Adam.
9/11. So 2001. Oh yeah, good point.
It's 16 years ago.
Sorry, babe.
I know.
Oh yeah, there was a 9/11 moment in the book because he's very patriotic.
Oh,
that's so. Doesn't he have a shrine to the Statue of Liberty or something?
No, he had he has in his because we always wonder where he's got his money, but apparently he's good in real estate kind of stuff. And he has a building with two massive flags, the two biggest in San Francisco. So clearly he has something for patriotism. And also, obviously, on set, they were filming, and it was the same day, I think, 9/11 on 2003, right? Or two. He saw a fighter jet flying over the set, and he just had a production meeting, and they tried 3 times, and they managed to get it at the end, a 5-minute moment of silence.
Yeah, and it just didn't go very well because everyone just kept on cracking up. This is ridiculous.
9/11 was 2001.
Yeah.
I thought you said 2003.
No, I said the filming.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So this had already gone. This has already happened. So I think he was basically saying, he said something like, you bastards aren't going to be able to get us or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're going to fight you.
Who does this Bin Laden think? I have the book. I have the book. I'm going to look it up. I'll read that.
He actually names Bin Laden.
Yes.
I'll be back.
Osama guy.
Oh, it's so embarrassing. Yeah, no, I remember that. But I mean, this was a few years after the actual 9/11, so that's even weirder.
Yeah.
But
here comes the book.
It's a throwaway. I find out it's a piece of trivia, not even about The Room in general. That The Ryder Cup, which is a tournament between the Europe and the USA in golf, used to be on odd years, so like 2001, 97, etc., etc. It's every 2 years. It was meant to happen in September of 2001, but it was cancelled that year because of 9/11, and subsequently it's every even year now. Thank my dad for that knowledge.
Okay.
This might take me a wee bit. Oh no, here we go.
Okay, in the meantime, I can talk about
Keep going.
Okay. So I talked about how Tommy Wiseau had a Jean-Claude Van Damme type of thing. Oh, Jean-Claude Van Damme clearly, I don't know if you've ever seen interviews with Jean-Claude Van Damme, 10-year-old interviews. He looks like a madman on cocaine.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's been ridiculed for many years. And when he did his movie about kind of his life, GCVD, a few years ago, it attracted a lot of, okay, so he can act, and everything. And now he's just releasing a GCVJ, Jean-Claude Van Jansen, which is also a very meta thingy. So it's about his life, and he's an actor, but also a secret agent and kind of thing.
Okay.
And the pilot just got firmly picked up by Amazon Studios, and we are having a giveaway because I purchased something at one point and I entered the coupon they asked me to enter to get that thing. Mm-hmm. We have a giveaway for a premiere of this Jean-Claude Van Jansen in Paris at the Grand Rex, which is one of the prestigious cinemas there, like Prince Charles Cinema and yeah. So check out our social media, and you'll have the details. It's for the winner and the +1, and we'll send you the email with the actual ticket when the time comes. The premiere is on the 12th of December. So if you're in Paris at that time, just check the social media.
Cool.
Yeah, we've had crazy numbers on the trailer I shared, actually, for some reason.
That's next Tuesday.
That's next Tuesday, I think. Yeah, that is.
Cool. Adam's just looking through this.
If you type Osama.
Oh, can I look up? Yeah, I can look up. I didn't even know I could do that.
Yeah, that would have.
I type in 9/11 and it should come up with a page. Okay, that didn't work. Osama. Got it.
Okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read the whole section, right? This was the morning of the 1-year anniversary of September 11. While we were ripping apart the rooftop, a plane flew overhead. It was a fighter plane of some sort, low-flying, sleek, vaguely wasp-shaped, and travelling very fast. At the sight of the jet, Tommy stopped everything. Okay, everybody, he said. We have meeting inside. Please follow me. We all looked at one another. What now? It was blood-boilingly hot inside Burns and Sawyer's cramped studio space. But once Tommy got us all in there, he asked everyone to please be quiet and remember the American flag. We stood there, doing our best to be quiet. Then somebody laughed. Tommy furiously decamped to another part of the studio and returned with a digital timer of one of those camera people had been using during filming. Tommy set the timer to 5 minutes and placed it where everyone could see it. Because you laugh, he said, we now have 5 minutes of silence for America. Have due respect. 10 seconds into that 5-minute silence, someone else laughed. Tommy reset the timer. If I hear any laugh, he said, which is very disrespectful, we do another 5 minutes. You can laugh the rest of your life, so you be the judge. It was probably the longest 5 minutes I've ever experienced. Eyes were glazed and several mouths were trembling, but no one wanted the clock to be reset. Somehow, on our third try, we made it all the way through. The timer ran out to several gasps, and I realised how many of us had been reduced to holding our breath near to the end to stop us from cracking up. Tommy followed these 5 minutes with a little speech. This prick Osama is biggest asshole motherfucker piece of shit who ever lived. He think he can stop America? I'm sorry, Mr. Dickhead Osama. You don't have a chance. We are best country in the world. He then led the room in a chant of USA, USA. For 5 minutes of reverent silence, followed by fist-pumping mania. That was a pretty accurate encapsulation of the patriotism of Tommy Wiseau.
Indeed.
That was just embarrassing.
Did you notice, I guess you noticed in the opening sequence, there was J.J. Abrams in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there was. Very cool. He's everywhere.
Yeah. And Judd Apatow as the screen producer in the restaurant.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was so embarrassing, Jesus. That scene. Oh, my gosh. When does this... are we allowed spoilers in this one?
Yeah. It's a film about making a film.
Yeah, and yeah.
The Room is also 15 years old this year.
Yeah, I know, but the new film... This isn't a podcast on The Room. This is a podcast on Disaster Artist.
Yeah, but the book has been out also, so whatever.
Just go for it.
Really? Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just asking.
Yeah, we can spoil it. That would have been quicker, Adam.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I laughed the whole way through. Which, for some reason, I wasn't expecting to laugh the whole way through. I thought it'd be a little bit more serious, but it was really funny. And actually quite kind of sweet.
Yeah, I think that we just briefly mentioned the trying to talk to the casting director in the restaurant pretty much sums up the tone of this film. Like, that in itself is a desperately cringy thing that you would never, ever do. Ever. Ever.
Like, especially because so many actors are told, like, don't use this to be or not to be speech. Like, that's not the speech to go with because everybody does it. And then he decides to just, like, jump on him while he's having dinner with, like, obviously his wife, I'm guessing. It's like candlelit dinner, like it's expensive restaurant. He just comes up and he's like doing the Hamlet.
Yeah, of course. That's the key moment that we see in here, but it's just suggested in the book when he loses faith. In the book, he just disappears to write his thingy, right?
Yeah, he
vanishes.
Yeah, it's stated that he like tries to. Well, it comes up in the film that he goes to like Stanislavski lessons. There's an actual name for them, which I can't remember off the top of my head.
What?
That method of Stanislavski. It's got an actual name.
Oh, I don't know.
Method acting.
That will probably be it.
Method, yeah, it's not really. Well, that's what he wrote. Yeah, method.
Well, he wrote something that then became. He wrote emotional memory, which then he became.
An actor prepares.
Yeah, he wrote.
Yeah,
emotion memory was what we wrote, and then he discredited it later on in his life, or he revised it because he didn't think it was perfect. But then it's emotional memory that method is based on, because Stella Adler was a student of
Lee Strasberg.
Lee Strasberg was
yeah.
Stanislavski's student and basically protege.
Who created the method as we know it.
Yeah.
The method, which is not, good segue. James Franco directed The Disaster Artist in character.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
But in interviews, well, it actually makes sense because to keep the physicality and the accent, he was directing as Tommy, but when he went home in every evening, he was just himself again. It was not Lincoln kind of crazy, or even crazier. Have you seen Jim and Andy?
Yes.
Oh wow! What a documentary!
It's bloody hell.
That's called being an asshole.
Yeah, it's really a dickish thing to do, I think, especially when you're making everyone else's job really difficult. Like, if you're doing it for yourself, I get it, because you're doing it to make a film, easier to do. But if you're making it more difficult, I don't know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of what Tommy Wiseau was doing in real life, actually.
yeah, like just making a film more difficult. It's like
being a bully and
I just think that's such a strange thing to do. Like, the character that I'm playing is a bully, so I'm just going to be a bully to everyone around me. That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what, to each their own. I don't know.
You got to give Tommy credit because he tries to break into Hollywood with no training.
I mean, he goes to acting classes.
Yeah, it's like I used to do acting classes before I did the full-time diploma, and I can tell you now that you have to be so committed to even classes that you have to really give it your all. And the type of person that Tommy seems in the film, I don't know if it's true to who he really is, doesn't strike me as somebody that could just do a couple of lessons, not because you see him not listen to the direction of any of the teachers, like the feedback.
He's too arrogant. He thinks he's like God incarnate.
Yeah, he thinks he's there.
Immediately, yeah. Like, but with everything, he's like giving advice and, it's no problem. Like, I can do anything.
I am number one director. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm Russian. Number one director.
I think whatever the final rating will be, it's I really liked the book and the movie because it's well, I'll quote the book because I think it's just in the intro. It's like a few lines. It encapsulates what actually the filmmakers went for, because the book is going in many directions, but the main point of focus with the fact that whatever the obstacles, you can follow your dream kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So in the intro of the book, Greg says, "In the end, the phenomenon of the room has allowed me to realize that in life, anything is possible. The Room is a drama that is also a comedy, that is also an existential cry for help, that is finally a testament to human endurance. It has made me reconsider what defines artistic success or failure. If art is expression, can it fail? Is success simply a matter of what one does with failure? Many of us want to embark on a creative life and never take a chance, too stifled by our self-awareness or fear to try. All the odds were against Tommy Wiseau becoming a filmmaker. Yet, something pushed him to go for it. Something powerful enough to inspire a global phenomenon."
That's it's always the question that we know the best if it's the failing makes you better.
Yeah. And it's the fear of failure that makes you not want to even try to keep at it. And it's also this horrible thing of like, and I mean, you get it from people that aren't actors, even people that are really close to you and love you dearly will say, you've tried. This isn't working for you, you know? And to be fair, it totally makes sense, because if you keep on trying to do something and it doesn't work out, surely it's your fault. But when it comes to acting, and I'm sure with lots of things, it's not actually true, because sometimes, like Morgan Freeman didn't really get anywhere until he was 50 years old, 48 or something. And people think of him as an icon. So what does that mean? That pretty much means that the whole time that he was trying before he was an icon, what was he? Not an icon? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's the same with Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson did hundreds of auditions before he finally landed one. Hundreds. Yeah. It's the same with any profession, like people only see the end result.
Yeah.
Well, the actors, you mostly know them today with their old face, like Tommy Lee Jones, and that's the name you were looking for the other day for the No Country for Old Men, I think.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones.
At the end.
And then I woke up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which I saw in 35mm print a few days ago at the GFT. Yeah.
Really?
How good was that?
Well, that was my first time also, so yeah, it was good.
Oh, that film.
It's great.
I love that film.
Yeah.
I love that film so much.
I haven't read the book.
No, neither have I, actually.
I've heard it's good too.
I'm a fan of the Coen brothers, even though, Suburbicon was a bit weird.
But it seems like it wasn't their fault.
No.
It was weird. It was like a George Clooney.
I recently discovered, thanks to Kermode and Mayo's radio show, they post their reviews on YouTube as well. So you can find the clip, and we'll put it up, where he talks about the bit of research behind. The Coen brothers had the script for the Matt Damon side of the plot locked away. They had the script, and George Clooney was currently interested in making a film about, he saw a documentary about in the Second World War, when veterans came home, there was an initiative called A Home for GIs, which essentially gave returning veterans a home to live in. There's a video game that we'll probably cover at one point called L.A. Noire that very captures that whole feel about the homes for GIs very well, about how insurance scams and so forth. But anyway, obviously there were black veterans in World War II. If you watch any war film, you'll see. So there was all these white picket fences places that black people were getting moved into, and it was just a whole community of white people having to interact with black people for the first time and being offended, like, you should move. But in reality, no, they shouldn't, because in real terms that they'd served and fought for their country, so they had as much a right as they had, probably had more a right to live in these homes than the other people did. So it was all about the treatment of black people in these new homes. It was a documentary, which I forget the name of, but it sounds interesting. So they put those two scripts together. That's why the A plot and the B plot of Suburbicon don't mix, because they're two separate scripts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the terms of the over dramatization, I did not hate her. I jotted that down. It was only 3 hours and 32 takes. Yeah, because in the movie it's obviously like 67 takes and like a whole day and everything. But still, like
it's just 32 takes. You mean?
Yes, 32 takes. And I felt a bit like Tommy Wiseau because sometimes I don't even know my own lines too. So
yeah, I guess so. But he did write the script.
Yeah, he's got no excuse.
Of course.
There's the thing with acting, especially on camera. I don't know if we've ever talked about this aspect. You learn your lines as hard as you can, but then obviously for film, you don't really have rehearsal time, if ever. So you just get on set and you're told what to do, and that's how you become a good film actor. If you know you're so secure in your lines, no matter what movement you're doing, you can change the lines to work to that. And it's clear that Tommy Wiseau can't do that. He can't walk and talk at the same time.
No.
Oh, yes. But that's what I wanted to say, like just now. I don't know my own lines now. I mean, I don't even know the lines I wrote, just like Tommy sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah. I think it's the arrogance though that comes with it that like, I mean, I haven't been in any Hollywood film, but yet, exactly. Thank you. But what I've noticed is that I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and that when you go into a film, usually people are quite supportive. They can say really horrible things like that you can take personally, blah, blah, blah. But
yeah.
Actually, people are quite supportive if you forget your lines. Like, they know that that's what happens, but you have to take it on your own stride. Like, you can't blame anyone else or be arrogant.
Oh yeah, no, sure.
And I think that's why people aren't really a fan of Tommy Wiseau, because it's the arrogance that he brings towards it. He's doing something wrong, but then he has the arrogance to treat people like shit afterwards. And that's when actors won't get any work after, because people are more likely to take a really shit actor, but they're really great to work with.
Yeah.
Like there must be so many actors like that it's like, yeah, okay, well, you're not great, but we know that people like you because you're good looking, and people kind of fancy you and fantasize about you. You're not a great actor, and also you're great to work with. And that's actually probably what kind of...
It's like it's rumoured with season 8 of Game of Thrones that Jason Momoa might be in it, because Jason Momoa was apparently great to have on set. Everyone loved him. That's why he came back in season 2 for like a death flashback thing, because everyone just wanted him on set for a day. I would not be surprised if we see a flashback with Jason Momoa in season 8 of Game of Thrones, whenever it comes out.
Oh, him going back.
Yeah, back from the dead. Oh, Drogo is a White Walker.
Well, it's like, what is his name? Jack Gleeson?
The actor that plays Joffrey.
Yeah.
Jack Gleeson, yeah.
How everyone was like, he was so amazing to work with, and of course he was such a horrible character. But maybe that's we don't know, but maybe that's one of the reasons why he was kept on for so long. And he had such a long death, and it was all a bit kind of brutal, and they kept on giving him scenes, because that's just the way that Hollywood works. It's like, it's like a playground.
Well, for the book purposes, because I've read the entirety of Game of Thrones twice now, the book. So that's probably about 14,000 pages I've read. I'm currently reading it again because I hope to get to the end. The thing about that book is, right, by the time you get to the next book, which everyone's been waiting for about 5 years, I think, you forget what's happened in the beginning, so you just go back and read it again because it's so intricate. So Joffrey's death is obviously in the book as it is. Like, you can't get around that. So it's up to the actor on the set to get more scenes. If you're good to work with, you'll get more scenes.
Exactly.
And prime example of that is Robb Stark, who is not a POV character in the book. We only ever hear about Robb through Catelyn, because she's a point of view character. I should explain, point of view characters in Game of Thrones is each chapter is told by a different person. So, for example, the main ones in the book are Jon, Daenerys, Tyrion, and so forth. Jaime at some point. Like, it expands as the book goes on because there's more characters. But we never got to see Robb except through the eyes of Catelyn. So if Robb's off fighting a battle, we don't get to know about it. But in the show, we see a lot of Richard Madden, who played Robb Stark, because he was so good, and the production directors, producers went, we need to see more of him in season 2, so he got more scenes.
It's probably what bit Tommy Wiseau in the arse in the end, because he could have probably carried on. It's a shit film, but it's a cult following, and he probably could have carried on, but he's such an arsehole, it seems, to work with. It's going to ruin your career. Well,
first of all, I never managed to pass 10 pages of Game of Thrones. I just don't like the style of writing for some reason.
I think it is, it's not for everyone.
No, I agree with that.
I think it's the same for Harry Potter. I think it's like, it annoys me when people are like, what? You don't like da-da-da-da-da? It's like, well, not everyone like, I don't like gaming. Never have. I have tried. I used to play a lot of Street Fighter. Yeah, and I just don't get it.
Guile.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it.
Sorry.
That's
and
him.
I get it, but so it's not for everyone. Game of Thrones is not for everyone.
And second, in the last 30 minutes of the audiobook, in the last chapter of the book, I would say, you get to meet a guy, I don't remember the name at all, but who gave the advice to Tommy that he has to make himself a star. That's the advice he said was the biggest and the most important advice he was ever given. So in that light, making yourself, and it's like having like an ego so massive that it becomes its own planet, but it's just making you the star of everything. He is like genuinely convinced that he is a star, which is why I do believe that's, I laughed obviously watching the movie, but I went to see it again today to see the after credits, and I almost cried, actually, because I think it's a tragedy in its core, that story.
Yeah. As in someone told him to believe in himself and he kind of took it too far?
I mean, as the story of this guy with the whole the Eastern thingy, the life of the guy, which is not developed in the film, but
it is possible.
And no one knew about it. I mean, I don't know anyone. I didn't know this until you guys told me. It's pretty horrific.
I would do a live reading of it at some point, but I think it's worth buying the Disaster Artist book just to read that section, because it is, like Yann said, it totally changed your opinion. And this is why I totally agree with Yann's point at the beginning of the podcast about dramatic structure of the book, because it comes at a point in the book where Tommy is at his worst on set. It's in that chapter. It's intertwined with days on set that go disastrously wrong, and he just loses it. And then you get this backstory, and it is tragic. It is amazing in a way, knowing that to where he is now. It is. As weird as it is a Hollywood story.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. It's like it's actually a Hollywood story. We don't know if that story is true. But the way it's presented in the book, I'm like, why would Tommy lie about it? And to be fair, it's the way the book's structured by Greg, and it'd be interesting to talk to Greg about it if you ever got that close to him about his relationship with Tommy, that Greg is Tommy's only friend, really, in the world. So, if anyone's going to know the story, it's going to be Greg.
Oh yeah, sure. That's also why I go by Wiseau, because he's been friends with him for 20 years, so he probably knows that the right spelling is Wiseau.
Wiseau. And I mean, you see this in the film as well, which I think is a really, it's like kudos to the directors or any of the creators, that you feel sorry for the guy. Like, he's an absolute dick on set. And to anyone that's been on set, it's tough already. Like, there's a lot of stress on you to do your job correctly. And if you have a bad director, if you have a bad boss, and I'm sure every single person in this world has had a bad boss at some point, it's hell. It's like so horrible. Yeah. But then to make you turn around and be like, actually, this guy has been through a lot. Yeah,
it's like the thing, like, you don't excuse you kind of understand what he went through, and you see where it's coming from. It just doesn't excuse the despicable stuff on set. He has a troubled life, troubled mind.
It's that desperation that he has to keep Greg close to him at all times. And if he sees him with someone else, like a girlfriend, or doing well with agents and stuff, he gets really possessive and he does kind of crazy things. And
We've got that in the book also.
Yeah. And it's like when you then realize that that's what he's doing, he's trying to keep him, right next to him. Then it's like, oh God, this is actually quite a sad story.
I just thought of a really weird, like, analogy story to, like, sum of us up. Like, so there's this kid. And he's from a poorer background, and all he wants is a bike. It's all he wants in his life. He just wants a bike. His parents can't afford to get him one, and his stepdad's a bit of an arsehole. Like, doesn't treat him right, like, drinks a lot, doesn't care about him, doesn't treat his mum right. Anyway, the family have no money. And the kid's out one day and sees a bike, just lying in the street, and he takes it because that's all he wants, all he's wanted in his life. He's not a bad person, but he just wants that bike. Is that kid an arsehole for stealing my bike?
No.
This isn't a true story, by the way. I still own my bike is still here. I haven't lost my bike to a kid, and then justifying him stealing it by having a rough background.
No, he's not an arsehole. And that's why it kind of, this is one of the reasons why I don't agree with the death penalty.
Oh, deep.
Well, no, because in some states in America, you can still die for something really petty.
Capital punishment is still in America, which is
that's a hard one. Yeah, because the thing is that you can never know for sure. But the petty thing, you don't have capital punishment for petty thing, do you?
It has to be murder.
I mean, like
it's murder or rape, right?
Yeah, well, I take it that
has to be a serious crime. Yeah,
someone raping a child should have first his genitals removed, and then burned.
It's crime. That's always the debate, especially in the world that we live in today, that is set with the rise in knowledge of sexual assault allegations that arise in the world. Which today it just came out that Times Person of the Year is the whistleblowers, the silence breakers for sexual assaults.
Oh,
that movement won Times Person of the Year. So. The world is changing because of the events of the past, which is nice to see. And it wouldn't surprise me if people call for capital punishment for something of that level, because it's like, you shouldn't do this. But then it's such a wide subject. And we'll cover films that talk about capital punishment, because there are some great ones and there's some like weaker ones and stuff. But that and its subject matter is a whole thing. And I would have to sit and think about where I sit on that one. Because yes, does the punishment fit the crime? We could talk about in the future, which I hope we do, about 12 Angry Men, which is one of my favourite movies of all time, and that's about capital punishment in a sense. And
it's tough as well, because it's like, obviously, if someone actually did something and they then go free, if there was no proof, then it's like, well, I kind of understand why they would get away, because we do have to keep that in the justice system. Even though it's frustrating, because how many crimes can you not prove?
Yeah.
It's like how you have to keep that in, because there are so many other crimes that, the fact that there is no proof means that they're innocent.
And there's no reset button either. Like, if you're dead, you're dead. If they find that, oh shit, it wasn't him,
you can't bring them back.
They can't bring them back.
I know. All you can do is, I don't know, like give the family some money, but I mean, what does that do?
Yeah, it's like, there's death, obviously, but we had in France a comic book about a guy who was wrongfully imprisoned for 20 years. And he could obviously I just did 20 years for nothing. There's nothing you can repay me with. They gave him a clearance, kind of an authorization to be able to have sex with any woman in the country.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. So obviously he goes with the chief warden's wife first.
That's good.
That's perfect.
I was about to cut Yann off because I thought Yann was going to tell us the plot of Les Mis. It's like he was falsely imprisoned for 20 years for stealing a loaf of bread. I'm like, hang on, I know where this goes.
Wait a minute.
Yann, this is an hour podcast. We've not got 3 hours to go through the plot of Les Mis.
No. I mean, the reason why this was brought up is because it's really easy to hate on someone like Tommy Wiseau, or laugh at him, or pity him, or whatever. But I think it was quite nice that they brought in the fact that this guy is like a real person, because he seems like a cartoon. I think they kind of humanized him.
This is what I like about our podcast, because everyone in the world might probably be talking about Disaster Artist coming out, because The Room is a cult classic. And most podcasts in the same sense will be able to understand the sense of making something yourself from scratch that you care about and putting it out in the world, and it being received in the totally wrong way. Mm-hmm. Which I'm going to ask you guys because I'll tell the story. So I understand where Tommy Wiseau is coming from with this script. In the book, it's described as Tommy Wiseau writes The Room instead of killing himself, essentially. He works out his inner demons by putting it into the script. How old was I? I would have been 18. When I was 18, I experienced my first breakup. And it's nobody's fault. I mean, it's as a child, you don't, or a young teenager, you don't know how to handle these things. And I handled it badly. It set me to a really weird and dark place where I was a wreck for about 5-6 months. I was in a really weird place, to the point that I don't even know if I had serious suicidal thoughts, but I had dark thoughts of like, how do I go on from this? And at that point in my life for school, we had to write an advanced higher drama. We had to write a script to put on as part of one of our assessments. And my script sort of started out as one subject and then became something entirely weird. It became about this character does something wrong and it's his conscience like talking to him the whole way through. Like, should you do this? Does it make you right? Are you a bad person? Etc. Essentially what the script boils down to, and now I realise at a later age that I was writing a script that essentially asked myself is like, what did you do wrong? How could you have fixed it? Are you a bad person for this happening? So I get what Tommy does, and I don't blame him for trying to make this work, because he wanted to be famous. He wanted to be a maker of film. He wanted to be in Hollywood. So I understand where this whole heartbreak sort of script comes from. So I don't think that it was a cry to be like, I want to be famous. I'm just going to write this film and I'm going to make it. I genuinely do think that, well, without The Room, I don't think Tommy Wiseau might be alive. So yeah, I think that in itself makes The Room, and therefore The Disaster Artist, like a very interesting piece of cinema as opposed to a film, because it's the reason somebody is still here.
It's tough as well, because like I know a lot of people that have been through some horrible things and they're like the best, loveliest people ever. But then you can't exactly like blame people for kind of adding on these like bad personal characteristics to themselves after something bad happens to them. Like sometimes that's just how you deal with it. Like you just become someone else and you never go back. Yeah. And that's just you forever. And that's kind of a shame. And I don't know if that's his fault or if that's his decision. If he actually delusionally thinks that he's like this really cool, like intelligent guy, filmmaker, or if he's actually struggling every day. Who knows?
Well, you know, the thing about suicidal thoughts is like, I think I was in Tahiti 12 years ago. I had a meltdown and, I was stranded on my own. I didn't have I just had co-workers, basically. My family was like 10,000 miles away. So it was hard to get back on the horse. It took me a year. But the meltdown I had 2 years ago, I had my family to support. Tommy apparently has no one. So if you don't have, I've seen a few movies in Rain Dance, including one with a guy who I related to a bit, except the fact that a film, Trendy, a very, very interesting film made by a French guy. The guy just goes completely crazy after he's rejecting by a girl who we thought was his girlfriend is not. And well, apparently he had no one because he's just started to kill everyone.
Jesus.
And I think that when you manage to open to you have to have someone, obviously, but to your relative, like close ones, it really helps. And actually, Tommy found Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably where the possessiveness comes from. You kind of have to remember that. Like, why would you... My initial thought was, why the hell would you immediately, like, come to LA and then, you know, say to the guy that you've basically has been your tenant for the last, 6 months or longer? And then say like, oh, I'm moving back in and you owe me this amount of money. Like that's I mean, obviously your initial thought is, oh, you dick, but that probably comes from a desperation of like, please don't leave me.
Yeah, very impulsive. He never cashed the first, so the initial rent was 900, but Craig was only paying 200. He never cashed the 6 first month there, Tommy.
Yeah.
So, yes, which actually left Greg with some kind of a problem, but everything was just withdrawn at one point when Tommy was in one of his episodes.
Yeah.
Well, let's get a bit of joy again.
Yes, please.
Sorry, guys.
With some simple facts. Apparently, at one point, Greg saw his driving license in the flat, and he saw October 1968, which would have made him like 30, around his 30s when he was himself 19, Greg, which way later in the book, it's he has contact with the officials and they checked the actual records, and he's more like we're older apparently. Yeah, so we have some hints, just like where he's from, how he made his money. So there's these street fashions, retail and designing things, real estate. So you get some of the answers. It's still, you don't know, you never know, obviously. But the questions that are left hanging at the end of the movie, The Disaster Artist, you've got some nice. And just like Adam, I also had the feeling when I read it, I don't really see why. Well, it's written in a way that it's really, really, really believable anyway. So
yeah, I don't doubt that anything that's in this film is not true. I do believe that sequences have been dramatized or events have been changed to make a structure for a film, but that's any adaptation that happens. Like, the best example is Lord of the Rings. If you adapted straight from page Lord of the Rings, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
For example, Tom Bombadil. Everyone that read the book of Lord of the Rings, like, where's Tom Bombadil? And he's not in the film. Because it slows down the narrative. Because that's the thing. Anything that doesn't help your narrative or help your end goal, take it out. It's just filler, really. As Mamet calls it, you know?
Yeah, it's like how when actors are like, so what's my favorite color? What's my character's favorite color? It's like, that doesn't help you with your whole, your character. Yeah. So what's the point?
That's with writing. If you don't know where you're going and just rambling, you're just wasting time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you have to have an objective.
Yeah.
One big thing also was at one point in the movie, one of the actress playing Michelle, when someone asked Greg, but dude, what's this movie about? And there's this woman who says, well, I'm pretty sure that it's based on Tommy's life, that there must be Elisa, and she's like convinced there must be Elisa. And in the book, you hear about a woman he's engaged to at some point. Like, I even got her like a $15,000 diamond platinum ring.
Oh God!
Yeah, and it ends abruptly.
Oh God!
Oh God!
I haven't got there yet. God,
we haven't finished it.
That sounds grim.
That sounds really sad.
Oh,
poor guy.
I can't imagine that. That's got to suck so bad.
Oh, and Tommy is drinking liters and liters of Red Bull, just like I used to do during acting times.
It's really bad for you.
And so you changed to coconut water, and then the fridge was just full of random coconut waters.
Yeah. But if you think about it, Mark has his iron brew, so we all have.
I don't know what he drinks now. But.
Oh yeah, we all have our little things that are really bad for you, but you keep going back to it.
Mine is fizzy juice and ice poles.
I think mine's bread.
Bread. Me and Anouk had a good conversation. You like that? You know, do you like toast?
Yeah.
Right. We always have the feelings like you can never have enough toast. Like if you go for somewhere for breakfast and like, oh, how many slices of toast you go, and you're like polite and go, oh, just 2. Like, what's an unacceptable amount of toast to ask for?
A loaf of toast.
I'm like, just bring me the loaf.
Wait. Actually, toast. I get some like toasted with foie gras and yes, it's just divine.
Oh my God!
But toast for toast, not really.
Just like for with a breakfast, like if you had like a fry up or something, like a full English breakfast.
Oh well, yeah,
like,
I love those. Obviously,
yeah, like if it comes with bread, it's like, oh, how many pieces of toast do you want? And he's like, 9. How much is too much?
The toast with butter that you have around these parts of the world, it's not really a French thing. I like that.
Like crumpets and stuff, or or muffin sort of thing. Like English breakfast muffins are good as well.
The thing V is doing for Evie in V for Vendetta, you know, the egg and the...
Oh, yeah.
Like French toast?
It looks like...
With eggs?
Yes, it's filled with butter. And
French toast is just...
French toast is
just
amazing.
Oh, God.
It has like 12 million calories.
Oh, it's like so good. It's so good.
Something I realized the other day, looking at or watching one of the recent Disaster Artist interviews, the fact that we have to give him credit also for this. Tommy Wiseau is the first filmmaker ever that we know of who actually shot the entire movie in 35mm and HD at the same time.
At the same time, which means that he had to have like 2 sets of film crews, 2 sets of lights at all times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Two
different sound technicians as well, I'd imagine, because why on earth you would capture just one sound? It would just be terrible.
Oh.
You could do it with one sound, to be fair. You just need one guy with a boom, and you could put it on both, but I wouldn't.
Which also means when you look at the movie, so you actually see the camera rig, which looks exactly what they're having when they do real 3D filming. So we'll probably have a 3D version of the room at some point. Just need some stereo conversion and it's done.
Oh, God.
So we can
Can't
see...
wait for that.
Yeah, Tommy's ass in 3D.
Oh, yes. Thrusting into her belly button.
Me and Anouk have played the Room video game.
Oh, I've seen it like a Flash game.
Yeah, the Flash game.
Yeah.
It's very good.
It's so funny.
Just type the Room Flash game and you get it. It's totally free and it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Because Greg talks about in the book how they develop the backstory for Greg's character, which is really funny because Greg's like, the game is pretty close to what I made up for Mark's backstory. And on set, 'cause he's like, why am I on the phone to Lisa and saying I can't talk now? Why would I answer the phone? So apparently in Greg's mind, he's like, oh, I'm like an undercover cop or something.
Oh yeah, also
like with the drugs,
the drugs
and the drugs and the gun on the roof as well, because that was. There are so many little things in the room that are so inconsistent. It's just.
Yes.
We'll talk about that when we do the room.
Yeah.
When we do the room, we'll get into all of that.
Oh, so much.
This episode is more about
the disaster artist.
not even the movie itself. The disaster.
The story of Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, it's like because that's what the disaster artist is. Let's be honest about the film. If you've seen The Room, you'll see the disaster artist. What appeal does the disaster artist, the film, have to anyone that hasn't seen The Room? I would say it has the appeal of that if you have a dream that you've always been scared to chase, this is the story of a man who chases his dream and gets there in the most unconventional way, and a way he doesn't even think he will get to.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, it's like I'd love to be successful, but I'd rather be successful in like a good way rather than like an infamous, notorious way.
Yeah,
it's very true nowadays with like YouTube and Twitter fame and all this sort of stuff. Like The Room predates all that, and Tommy Wiseau The Room is in the same category as Nosferatu. It's a cult film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it survived, and you know what? This is really odd. And it does say stuff. The film, The Disaster Artist, will be around for as long as the book is relevant and The Room is. So the three of them as a trilogy, as like a package, will exist for a very long time. But The Room and the film itself will be around for probably the next 100 years.
Oh yeah, all the midnight screenings and everything.
Yep, it will be. Yeah. There will be people in 100 years' time that look at this and go, "This is how films were made in 2003."
Oh, there is like in 300 years, someone will find this old dusty DVD thing, will put on. It will be kind of a memento of the whole of cinema 200 years ago. It was like, oh, that. How cinema was like. It's like, no, not really, but you know.
Whatever.
There was a nice trivia in the in the book. You know, the fact that Tommy absolutely wanted to be like a real Hollywood movie, so he rebuilt the alleyway that was just outside on the Burns and Sawyer parking lot. There's more to that. So he wanted to do the Chris R. and Danny scene in there. So they did they did what they had to do. And the production, well, the rest of the team figured it was the end, so they started to deconstruct the alleyway set to build the apartment. Tommy learned about that, just went crazy because he wanted to do one last scene, completely ridiculous and unnecessary anyway scene. So they built the alleyway again, took 20 hours.
Painful. This is so painful to me.
Oh, and he didn't want to pay them for that 20 hours.
Oh, God.
But he ends up having to pay them for the 20 hours.
Of course. It's like probably in your contract. Like that would like bring equity into your home.
Yeah. By the way, The Room has nothing to do with The Room, the film with Brie Larson who won an Oscar last year.
Yeah, Room. Yeah.
Yes.
Good film.
Difference between Room and The Room.
Yeah, because he thought like Room is fine, and then he just added the Tommy. For when he was looking for a title.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Room was nice, and you know the kid Jacob Tremblay is the disfigured kid in Wonder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we're coming to the end of the Odyssey of Tommy Wiseau. I'm quite interested to see because obviously Best Friends is coming out, which is Tommy's next film.
Yeah, we're going to see both of them in February actually.
Oh,
back to back. Yes. Yeah.
This is concerning to me because now Tommy's making a film after the fame of The Room.
Greg is the director on this.
Is Greg directing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see that in February. I've watched a lot of interviews with James Franco. This guy is just, well, first of all, he's probably the official lookalike. My brother is just, you've seen pictures? It's just like the exact same people. It's just crazy. Even more impressive than Dave, his brother. Yeah. And this guy, so James, well, he's no longer doing that, but he was up until a very recent time also doing giving classes, like film classes at the university. He also had like so many different, acting obviously, but like he has like, as he's figured that more than just having random hobbies on the side, is just as dedicated in this as is in all parts of his as the acting. Which also, by the way, Dave Franco, I talked to you about that a few days ago. He is one of the most dedicated actor I've heard about. I've never met him, but I've met a very dedicated actress during the class, Emma. She impressed my parents with her whole warm-up routine for the Fringe. So it was
Emma Findlay.
Yeah.
She's very good at doing all the things you're supposed to be doing before you go on stage. Yeah. She still does it.
Yeah.
I've seen her before in audition. She still does it.
She's just shooting her first feature film, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Dave Franco, so he was so into, for Now You See Me, he pretty much became a professional magician level.
I really like that film.
I think we could also have a t-shirt with that sentence, because I'm editing this and I really like that film. I hear that a lot.
Who says it? Is it Anouk?
Yeah.
So
I really like that film. It wasn't Hollywoodized.
God damn, Anouk's got 2 t-shirts already.
I really like that film.
There is one thing also, Making a Scene with James Franco. Have you seen that? It's a web series.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
He's mixing up 2 movies and they are creating a scene where like blending in the...
Ah, cool.
Yeah, it's very, very
sounds funny.
I haven't seen the Deuce where he plays twins.
No.
That's from is that the
porn thing?
Yeah, the writer of the Wire, David Simon.
Oh, wow.
And
Nice.
Bound 2. Did you see Bound 2?
No.
It's
a
remake.
Music video from Jay-Z.
No.
Kanye.
Oh, Kanye,
And there's the Bound one, and they did with Seth Rogen. Homoerotic.
That was great. That was very
good.
funny.
That was good.
Very funny.
James Franco has also played James Dean in a biopic of James Dean's life.
Yes, he has.
Which is really amusing because there's a whole bit about James Dean in this film. And we get to see the infamous scene of James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause going, "You're tearing me apart!"
Yeah.
On big screen. So again, I got to see James Dean on a big screen, which is one of the credits I give to La La Land. I'm like, I got to see James
Yay!
Dean. To see James Dean on the screen. I got
Yeah.
to see it again. I was like, yes.
Amazing actor.
Love that film.
Oh, yes, there is a moment which was interesting when Tommy got some extras because they needed some very urgently. And he was like shouting at one of the extras because she was like, "Wait, don't try steal show. You're nothing." That kind of stuff. Like
It was she was the makeup artist as well. That was Amy, the makeup artist. That he was.
Amy.
I'm not trying to steal the show. I'm just here.
Oh, God.
It's ridiculous.
You have to laugh.
I have an anecdote, kind of. I don't think we said the fact that a guy named Dane, who for some reason was referred as Don by Tommy Wiseau, was cast as Mark at first. And he came along and he was fake filmed until it was eventually revealed it was actually Greg. Well, anyway, it reminded me of that one time in Tahiti when I was in charge of taking the photos for the one random ceremony. Mm-hmm. So I was at the bridge, so kind of responsible for making sure that all the cameras are charged and everything.
You should explain bridge not as like a bridge you cross.
The commanding center of the ship where you've got the charge.
It wasn't this Yann standing on a rickety ass bridge charging a Canon camera.
No. And I was responsible to take the pictures. As soon as, there's the helicopter space at the rear end, right? And so everyone was aligned there, ready for the big moment with the medal and everything. So I came in, I was ready, it was working fine. As soon as the commanding officer stepped foot on the thingy, I had no battery left. So I pretended for 20 minutes I was actually doing close-ups of the people being rewarded.
That's tough.
Yes,
man.
and I managed to pretend for a few months that the photos were coming.
What happened in the end?
Well, it just forgot, I think, but yeah.
Thank God. Phew.
Sacre bleu.
Dodged that bullet.
There was unrelated Zac Efron in this.
Oh,
yeah, Chris R.
Yeah, nice.
It was yeah, good.
And in the book, so it's quite the red dress suicidal jerking off moment.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're not there yet, probably, because in the Disaster Artist, you could see. I don't remember how it is in the actual room, but you can see him with a red dress, and he's like touching himself kind of like quickly, and you've got the actress playing Lisa who said, well, I wanted to keep that dress. And there was an actual scene where he was actually he's actually having sex with the dress just before his suicide.
Oh God. Oh.
Yes.
Why is he so strange?
It was the dresscapade, as Greg
Oh, God.
Plenty of interesting metaphors in that book.
Yeah,
that's true, actually.
Oh, also, Home Alone. I was looking at the movie. That's random. You get into acting because, well, thanks to Home Alone. And, well, in the actual book, you've got the whole story. So that you got so massively obsessed with it that you actually wrote the sequel, Home Alone 2, Lost in Disneyland. And he sent that to John Hughes, and he got an answer with a nice quote from John Hughes himself, like, "Well, thank you for your script, sending the script actor. Keep pushing and don't give up your dreams and stuff." Yeah, that was
that's nice.
Yeah. Oh, I'm coming to that because there are two websites I came across a few days ago who gets you free previews and screenings. There is one called gophobo.com, which, if you are in Los Angeles, you get screenings, previews for free quite frequently.
Yeah.
Even red carpet events.
Bloody hell.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's cool. In the UK, there's the Show Film First, and which it's not as often you get stuff, but I just got something at the O2 Academy. The next week, there is a Home Alone house party. So for just £2, you get the two Home Alones. And it's supposed to be like 20 when you get at the door, but with this website, just like this. So yeah, I booked it, so I have to change a bit our schedule.
Fair enough.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so that was the two. Okay, yeah, I would say I talked about my filmmaking top 5 at some point. I would say now that The Disaster Artist is in the top 5 for sure.
The film?
The book.
Oh, the book.
Oh yeah, it's I'm really enjoying it. We're listening to it on the audiobook though.
Greg is very good at the audiobook.
Yeah.
Because he does the accent so beautifully.
He nails Wiseau.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And you've got the Tommy Wiseau's audition technique. Well, directing auditions. You're like, your sister just became lesbian. Your mother just died.
You win lottery.
It's just...
oh, dear.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to meet Tommy in person come February.
Oh, God, I'm nervous.
He's not going to listen to this. It'd be really fucking weird if he did. Like, oh, shit.
No, he's probably heard worse from people.
I don't care no more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just have left announce. Yeah, so today we're announcing a Instagram series. On Friday we didn't have any series except releasing episodes, but now we have the Oh Hi Doggy series. Back to John Wick, when I talked about how we were brought up with dogs and stuff. One thing I entirely forgot and just thought about it a few days ago. Yeah, I forgot to talk about the last time we had a male dog, right? So it was quite an event, actually, because not as much for me as the very first one we had, like Farouk, the very first one we had when he died, which got me a bit blasé for all the rest. But this one, my parents invested so much in it, Blue was called, that when he died because of being murdered by a vet, pretty much.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, it's a weird story. That's one of the first time I saw my mother cry. That and her mum dying a few years later. And
God.
so, yeah, I'm telling. So we'll start the Oh Hi Doggy with photos of Blue, and after that, every Friday you'll get pictures of doggies I've photographed during my Navy years.
Excellent.
Great.
Excellent.
Talks around the world.
I like it.
That's a great series.
I like that a lot.
I got a good cat story. Listeners, if you follow me on my own Instagram, which is actor_AD, you'll see that I work for Uber Eats as a cyclist. I was out delivering, it was last week, and I cycled past this cat, and it was like getting petted outside a pub. I'm like, right, I'm absolutely coming back here to pet this cat. So I did the delivery, came back, sat down on these steps, and the cat sat on my lap. I was like, I love life. So I might start a series called, I don't know, Uber Times with Uberman or something like that, where I post the random stuff that I find when I'm out and about. Because I do have some funny stories from delivering with Uber that I might share some days. And there is a good one. We'll see. I'll put it as a goal. We'll put it as a goal somewhere.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, please. I said earlier, I thought Tommy Wiseau had a bit of Charles Dickens. Because I've just went to see The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that he's on the one side he can spend, like in the movie that was just released, he's giving to charity and everything, but on the other side he's just kind of greedy, kind of the Scrooge aspect of his personality. Tommy does exactly that. When he doesn't want to spend stuff, he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's very true. And it's like, and then when he does, he's like ridiculous in spending money. So it's like how on the crew he won't give water to them, and it's like, you can definitely afford it, so it's not that. You're just very strange.
I think we should probably not talk about it, but have a go at seeing it, The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Scrooge is being played by Kevin Spacey.
Nope.
Christopher Plummer.
Oh, is this
Christopher
that
Plummer.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a bit like the method acting delusion, because Dickens is being bugged by his characters and they come to life. And it's interesting.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I hope Jared Leto isn't going through that right now with his Suicide Squad.
If he's still in the DCU.
I really liked the side by side at the end, just before the rolling credits.
Just so that people that haven't seen The Room realize that that the disaster artist didn't over dramatize the scenes. Like the room actually exists, and it is actually that ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was not really planned to have that at the end, but they noticed that they really nailed it. So it's like, yeah.
That makes me question how much raw footage of them redoing the room there is.
Probably
loads.
The whole thing.
I would imagine that'd be great.
Especially for like rehearsal purposes, they must have done loads of scenes like that.
Okay, so giveaway announcement. There are two things. We have 2 tickets for The Room at the Glasgow Film Theatre today at 11 p.m. So we'll be posting at the same time of this episode all the details on our social media, mainly Instagram. The second one, which is way later and is actually with Greg and Tommy on stage, in the Prince Charles Cinema, which is the UK home of The Room, actually. It premiered here at the Prince Charles Cinema. So 2 tickets for that. This one will involve reviewing. The Glaswegian one will only be for local people, obviously, because it's just the same day. And it will be a bit easier to get the tickets. So watch out for those. Oh, yes. Next week, we will have an episode about Super Mario Odyssey with Laura Watson as a guest. And the week after that, Okja with Charles Chong as a guest.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I loved that. That was a really nice episode.
That's how yeah.
Good day.
Okay, so I think we're done. Well, so this was the Disaster Artist episode. Next episode, double the price. Well, you'll get 2 episodes next week.
You lucky bastards.
Lucky baby face.
Fine baby face. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Greg's mother was French Sicilian. So it is. Yeah, so in the audiobook you can hear she's speaking pretty much French when she talks to him, so which we don't have in the film.
No.
I do remember him saying that he speaks French.
Yes, Tommy and Greg. Yeah.
Tommy speaks French?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
So that was towards the end of the book. There was someone who tries to give some French words in the film. He just got massively annoyed because he doesn't want any other language in his film.
Okay.
This is not best film not in the English language. This is drama.
Yeah.
Hollywood does not have other languages, only English.
Yeah,
okay?
nobody reads subtitles. Okay.
We'll probably also try to, maybe, I don't know if it's just a delirium tremens from my part, but you are tearing me apart, Alexa.
Oh, yeah.
Because the other day I figured it would be nice to record for social media purposes a video of Alexa. I was just like, okay, Alexa, play the good, the bad, and the just playing standard. And it took me in total at least half an hour to get it to work on film. Well, with the iPhone.
Yeah.
And I recorded some of that, so I went some dark Tommy Wiseau places.
So that leaves me with a question. Anouk, Yann, is Disaster Artist good, bad, or just plain standard? Anouk?
Good. It was very good. Definitely. Recommend it.
Yann?
My God. It was good. Very good.
Very good.
Baby face. Oh, you're so kind. Yeah, it's good. I think that the Disaster Artist and the book are a combined package, and they are well worth diving into. Whatever way you want to do them round, I don't think matters. But the book will make the film better, and the film it's always nice to see stuff on camera. So yeah, good.
Definitely try to, because the audiobook is not that easy to find. I think there's just a CD actually.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now that, thanks to the Disaster Artist, the book is now released in a new edition with the Dave Franco and James Franco cover. So probably they'll have a real digital online version of the audiobook. Probably.
That would be good.
Yeah. But anyway, how's your sex life? Which is one of the best lines, I think, when you're uncertain whether or not you're in the friend zone. You say that to the girl, and you'll be sure.
Any opinions about that?
I don't know what I would say if one of my friends asked me that. I'd probably yeah, good, great. Talk about something else. I have to go. Bye.
So exactly what happens in the scene in the room.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
All right. So we were
Adam.
Anouk.
and Yann. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.